Welcome back to the Girl Out of Order podcast. Happy January. It's still January. I don't know if you've ever heard the saying January 100 or something like that. January is such a long month. And yet somehow I still can't believe we're already over halfway through the month. It's a very strange juxtaposition, but that's actually perfect for what we're going to talk about today because January, it's loud. Have you ever noticed how loud this month is? Because we think coming out of December, the holidays, I don't know if you're like me, you had college kids home and they go back and then you put the decorations away. You're like, you think you should calm down. But no, that's not what happens. There's so much noise. Everybody has a plan, a word, vision board, a strategy. I have a strategy for my morning routine. I have a strategy for my evening routine. I have a strategy for my personal development. I have a strategy for my sexual relationship with my husband. Strategies and plans and visions. Oh my. And here's what I want to talk to you about today. I've got such great news for you. You don't need a bigger plan. You don't need a bigger plan or a bigger calendar. I'm looking at, if you're on YouTube, you're looking at me, I'm looking at the calendar on the wall. It's massive. You don't need a big ass calendar. That's actually a brand. You don't need that. You don't need a bigger vision, sister. You just need a clearer one. We are in season 1 of 2026 for Girl Out of Order, and we're all about releasing. That's the part of the season we're in. It's about releasing. And I'm here to give you permission to release the pressure to have a massive plan. Listen, I've been part of the Tony Robbins world for years now. And one of his favorite phrases is to take massive action. And that's amazing. You absolutely should if that's where you are. But the message that we often get, especially as women, is that we're just too small. And it didn't used to be that way. It actually used to be the opposite. Have you noticed that shift? It used to be that the world, society, our families, our culture would tell us that we should shrink down. And I know that that's still out there. Absolutely. I do know that that's still out there in a lot of environments, maybe the environment inside of our own head. That's not what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about that external pressure that often comes from comparison as we look around at what everybody else is doing. People, a lot of times in our own lives, people that we admire, and we think, crap, I'm so far behind. I'll never measure up. My word for 2026, sisters, is clarity. And I chose that word not because it's glamorous, not because it's glittery, not because it's even exciting for me. In fact, it's exactly the opposite. Clarity can feel really scary for me. And that's because just like I talked about measuring up those big old plans, oftentimes I feel like I'll never measure up to the people who are clear on their vision and clear on the steps that they want to take to get them and not getting lost in the shiny object syndrome. One of the things that I can feel shifting in me, in my life, in my business, my law firm, and my coaching business, and in my new fledgling speaking business, the shift that I can feel is this reduction in urgency. And here's what I've figuring out and really starting to lean into is that reduction in urgency comes from honesty and timing. I'm getting honest with where I'm at. I'm getting honest with my capacity, and that's huge. And I'm getting comfortable with timing. Because when we're honest and we focus on timing, we free ourselves up to find a pathway to clarity. So if you're not feeling ready yet, nothing's gone wrong. I promise you. I've got a calendar with some of the big rocks on it. Yeah, I've got some things that I know are for sure. But I got to tell you, this plan for my year and my quarter and my month, it's still unfolding. You see, the January planning culture, I have decided this year, I am finally making a shift. It rewards speed, not truth. Can you relate to that? Am I speaking to anybody out there? I know I am. Because women, especially midlife women, I'm going to use a little bit of a crass phrase, so give me some grace here. We don't have any fucks to give. Like when you get into your 40s and 50s, you really stop giving an F what other people think. But it takes some repetition to get comfortable with that. We do not need speed, sisters. We need alignment. Because if you're like me, you have sped through life and ended up a heaping pile of ash in a lot of different areas in your life because you burned yourself to the ground. But when we become aligned, guess what happens? We become clear, and that sense of urgency, it starts to calm, and the noise starts to get into the background where it belongs. So I want to talk to you a little bit about overwhelm versus clarity. I have spent so much of my life getting lost in overwhelm and even using that term, I've made it bigger. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm feeling overwhelmed by this. Is so overwhelming. Even just saying that word out loud, I can actually feel a shift in my chest. Because if you remember any previous episodes, the power of our language is profound. Even using the word overwhelm on a frequent basis, guess what that's going to create in you? You guessed it, overwhelm, because you're going to be on the lookout for everything that feels heavy. You see, overwhelm, I'm starting to understand, and we're on this path together, sisters. It is rarely a capacity problem. Because I've told myself that lie so many times. There's a mentor of mine. She seems to have endless capacity. I don't even know if she sleeps. I do know she sleeps because she's told me, but I'm got to tell you, I'm not sure I believe her because she seems to have endless capacity. She's always going. And I think to myself, is there something wrong with me? Do I just not have a big enough capacity to reach my dreams? Have you ever asked yourself that question? I know I have, and it chokes me up even saying it out loud because I can feel the pain and the hopelessness that can generate in me and has generated in me. But the thing is, overwhelm is rarely a capacity problem. It's a clarity problem. And this is where the growth happens. This shift, sister, if you make this shift, I'm telling you, it's game on in your life, your health, your business, your relationships, your spirituality, even. If you get clear on what you want and you get clear on the outcome you're moving toward, overwhelm is going to stop being as big of a problem. It's when we have too many voices in our head and we allow so many people to take up that rent-free space, overwhelm. And it's too many expectations, overwhelm. Too many inherited shoulds, listen here, overwhelm. I have a good friend of mine. She has a program called The Should Show. And Joelle is one of the most brilliant, easy to be around humans I've ever met. And it's really interesting to talk to her because she's super successful, but she's so relatable because she's let go of these shoulds and she wants that freedom for other people. So get honest about where your overwhelm is coming from. Is it too many voices that you're allowing to speak into your head because we get to control the input? We do. Is it too many expectations that you've allowed to define your day and command your time? Do you need better boundaries? Do you need to get honest about what shoulds you are allowing to run your calendar even? But more importantly, run your internal dialogue. You see, this is something that I'm just going to tiptoe into because I don't have the expertise in this area, but it's something I can relate to and I wanted to share it with you. Traditional planning is actually built on masculine productivity models. Think about that. It prioritizes faster, bigger, more, more, more. And I'm asking the question more than giving you a proclamation on this, but I'm wondering, If we let go of the traditional models of planning, if that might create some space for a midlife woman to come in and ask some deeper questions, instead of just pushing and being competitive, what if we got curious? What if he said, what actually matters to me? When I go to sleep at night, what am I thinking about? When I wake up in the morning, what's that first thing that comes to my mind? And we engage with our calendar as if we're having a conversation. That is a particularly feminine approach to planning. We ask ourselves, what's actually true? If I did all these things and checked all these boxes, am I going to be fulfilled? And then what's actually aligned with my values as the woman that I am and the woman that I am becoming? Just food for thought. And as we talk about clarity, and as I delve into clarity for 2026, and like I mentioned at the beginning, this is not comfortable for me. This is not my wheelhouse. This is not my juicy words I've had in the past. In 2024, my word was ascension. I was going to ascend, and I did. 2025, it was my year of expansion, and I expanded. And I was very excited about those words. And then I tried to get rid of clarity. I tried to find some juicy, exciting word that was glittery and shiny. And yet clarity continues to come back, because here's what I am starting to understand. And I'm only teaching you what I'm learning. Remember, this is a Come Along With Me podcast. Clarity is the gateway to your next level. It's the gateway to your next level of relationships with your intimate partner. It is the gateway to your next level of communication with your teenager. It is the gateway to your next level of business for sure. I just finished up crewing for Tony Robbins' Business Mastery. And if I set aside the next 4 weeks to implement everything I learned, I could not possibly make a dent in all the brilliance I was just taught. So I got to get clear on what's most important, because it's the gateway to the next level of my law firm. It's the gateway to the next level of my speaking business. It's the gateway to my next level of coaching. See, clarity, it's not about knowing the whole path. I think for me in the past, I would just be so obsessed with understanding the how, the tyranny of the how. And that is such a foolish focus, because it takes you off the path of clarity. Clarity is about knowing what matters in this moment. What is the next right step? It's directional. It's not definitive. Clarity in particular for women, and I know this not only because I am one, but because I work with women, and importantly, because I've raised 4 young women. And I'm just gathering and harnessing all of my experience. And what I particularly have come to understand and am understanding as I'll step more and more into my own femininity and getting comfortable with that approach to life, is that my clarity is going to come from my listening, my intuition. For so long, I rabidly looked around and compared myself with other lawyers, other thought leaders, other people that weren't my people, not really. And so I'm learning to trust my intuition and listen to that still small voice in my own mind about what matters most, and ask myself, Tony Robbins says, he has this rocking chair test that he does when he's deciding clarity on a direction. If he could fast forward all the way into the future when he's old and sitting on his porch in a rocking chair, either alone or with his beloved, would this focus still help him feel like he had the right focus, that he lived a fulfilling life, and that would it still light him up? So listen to your spirit about what matters most to you. Yes, we have to pay our bills. Yes, we need to keep our word. Yes, we have certain human responsibilities. But I'm talking about when you sit down to write out and to live and breathe what matters most, listen to your intuition, because that is a gift from God that will guide your life. And the partner to that is discernment, because sometimes we can listen to a lot of voices, even inside our own mind. Be discerning about what's going to matter most, what's most aligned with your values. And then ask yourself that rocking chair test. If I was 95 years old sitting on a porch in a rocking chair, would I look back on my choices now and be like, way to go, girl? You chose wisely. And then timing. This is huge, sister. When you are trying to decide for clarity purposes, what direction to go, where to put your energy, your time, your talents, your treasures, consider the timing. In the past, and I'm saying in the past because I am done with this BS habit. I have gotten so excited about so many things at once and I wanted to do them all. Can anybody relate? And I didn't trust the timing. I felt this urgency of I don't want to miss out. That FOMO, right? That FOMO, like I don't want to miss out on this opportunity or this class or this course or this direction. So I want to do it all. And the timing was just not right. Clearly, we all have the same amount of time in a day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether you're in South Africa or China or Russia or in a little village in Alaska. You got 24/7. Trust the timing. Choose what's best, not what's brightest. And the rest can wait. Because again, going back to if you're listening to your intuition, guess what's going to happen? The timing is going to become more and more clear. And if you're not urgently chasing all the shiny objects, you can put some things aside. You can hit the pause button on certain projects that don't need to happen all at once, right? Your clarity, particularly as a woman, will emerge if you trust those factors. You can't force clarity. So if I give you a couple tools, a couple things you can apply. I was hesitant there for a second because again, I'm fighting my own urgency right now in this episode to tell you everything that I'm learning about clarity. And I want to give you some very practical tools, 3 of them, because 1, 2, 3, too many. I'm really implementing that this year. If you have more than 3 goals, your brain's going to go, blah, it's going to just freak out. So I'm going to give you 3 tools and we're going to stick to that because that's actually a little side tool, but for right now, just understand I'm going to give you 3 easy tools to get more clarity. Because remember, we don't need a bigger vision, sister. We need a clearer vision. And we're releasing that old habit of trying to make everything so big, so complex, filled with steps that we actually don't accomplish even a fraction of what we can if we get clear. So tool number 1 is called subtraction before addition. And this is a hard one for me. Even in my doggone closet, this is hard for me. If clarity feels hard for you or clarity feels, I'm not even going to use the word hard. Let's take that hard word out. Pretend I didn't even say that. As a Master Co would say, disintegrate. We're just going to disintegrate that word. If clarity feels like a challenge for you, don't add any more input. Don't seek out more guidance. Don't read more books. Don't watch more YouTube videos. Subtract the interference because perhaps if you just got silent and you just paused, you actually might be able to hear that still small voice. So if right now clarity feels a little bit out of reach, I'm inviting you this week to remove the noise and to get alone with your beautiful thoughts because you have a big, beautiful brain and it's very strong intuition. And sometimes your life is like white noise. I know mine is. And so when I feel that there's so much noise, guess what happens? I can't hear what's clear. Tool number 2, truth sorting. Remember I talked about honesty? You need to ask some empowering questions. What feels heavy? What feels heavy right now? Pretend you've got different options in your hands. What feels heavy? What feels light? What feels quietly true? I love that. What feels quietly true? Not everything that's clear screams. In fact, More often than not, the most clear option, the quickest path to clarity, whispers. And I love this question because this question is so empowering for a woman stepping into or re-emerging into her identity and anchoring herself, rooting herself in who she knows she is. What am I no longer available for? Now, I said that a little snotty, so let me say it a little softer. What am I no longer available for? The reason I love this question so much is it keeps coming up in the women that I work with in my law firm, in my coaching, and even in my parenting. One of my college children just went through a breakup and it was very hard for her because she cares about this guy. And yet there were certain treatments that she's just no longer available for. Certain behaviors she's no longer tolerating. Even in a teenage relationship, clarity led to action that aligned with who she knows she is, and importantly, what she knows she deserves. So what are you no longer going to be available for, sister? These 3 questions, this truth sorting in this third tool, create immediate clarity. You don't need a vision board. You just need to ask empowering questions. So as we wrap up, I just want to give you some beautiful affirmation. And I'm saying this for me too. You are not behind. You are not late. You are listening, sister. You are honoring your own process and timeline. You are resisting the noise, saying no to comparison, and you are creating white space to hear the still small voice inside you that's going to lead to the clarity you need for your beautiful life. Clarity is coming. You do not need to chase it. You just need to make room. I hope this was helpful for you. I gave you 3 really powerful and easy to implement tools to move towards clarity. These tools can be applied in any area of your life, whether it's your health choices, relationships, friendships, business, finances, spirituality, you name it. These tools will lead you to a greater sense of clarity while releasing you. Remember, we're talking about releasing you from the pressure to create this grand. Because remember, sister, you don't need a bigger vision. You just need a clearer one. So come along with me on this path of clarity. 2026 is going to be absolutely epic. And if this episode was helpful for you, please leave us a review. Those written reviews help us grow this community. And come on in and join the Girl Out of Order Facebook community. I'm in there live every Monday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time to have a conversation with you, to share what's on my heart, to give you some inspiration so that you can go out and live your life as a girl out of order, which only means you are no longer contorting yourself to fit in expectations that were not designed for your life. Join us next week when we delve a little bit more deeply into the power of questions and how asking a better question can lead you to a much better life. I can't wait to see you then. Until then, girl, please keep being a girl out of order because this hurting world needs you more than ever before. I'll see you next time.